Hi, everybody. Welcome to Out on Film Conversations. I'm Craig Hardesty, and I am really thrilled today to be talking to Phillip Lewitski from really, I think, my favorite film of the year, Wildhood. Phillip, welcome to Out on Film, and thank you for joining us today for this conversation.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
So I'm always curious how, as artists, as people, you find ways to tell these stories. And so I'm curious, just kind of let us know how you found your way to Wildhood, or how it found its way to you.
Yeah, I think it was the latter. It really did find its way to me, and it's a very rare thing to feel so connected to a piece of material. And I was actually with my family at the time when the script was sent to me, and so it was just a really beautiful thing. And I read the script with my mom, and just felt we both just instantly knew that this was something special. And then yeah, when the process kind of evolved, and I got to meet my incredible co-stars Joshua Odrick and Avery's Winter Anthony, amongst the incredible cast on board. It was just everything felt right, and it was just a combination of openness and vulnerability, and just being transparent with each other to tell a story that is deals with some difficult subjects. And so it was just but it felt safe the entire time, which is really nice.
So you play Link, our protagonist, a two-spirit teenager on a journey to find his mother. But also, this is a journey, it's coming of age, it's a journey to find yourself, your land, your people, your way. What was it about Link that you thought, I need to play this?
It was a combination of things. It's a very personal story to Brett, our director writer, and so it's really important for me to have a conversation with them, just to make sure that we were both on the same page as far as telling this story through Link's eyes. And I think I was just really attracted to Link's brokenness, and I just think that we're all to a certain degree broken inside, and I just felt like I had been through those moments before that Link goes through in the story, and it just felt right to jump in Link's shoes and kind of ride with it.
When you kind of think about it, you said, as you all came together, you and Joshua Ojik, you really play these two people with, I don't know, at some point such aggressiveness, at some point such tenderness. And how was it that you two found working together, and how did you kind of form your relationship as artists and actors, working to tell a story that's obviously very important to both of you to tell?
Yeah, it was difficult, but there's no other person I'd rather have done it with than Josh. Really, it's the first time I met him in the casting studio, and we had a chemistry read together. We had never spoken before this, and then all of a sudden we're doing this really intimate scene, and these really angry scenes, and it's like, just right away I felt, again, like I said, just very safe to be fully me, and I felt like we were able to hold each other up during it. And so I don't know if that answers the question, but I guess we were just anchors to each other, and that's what made it possible, really, or not too depressing to do.
I mean, because it is. I mean, talk a little bit about this journey that they go on. That is, at times very angry without having the anger take over the whole movie or the whole relationship. but there's this journey of the two of them together. Um, Tell us a little bit about kind of how you two kind of worked through and wanted to portray both of these people.
Mm. Yeah, the anger, uh it's interesting you talk about that, because it's like I've experienced that in my own relationships, where it's like this kind of under the current anger, and it's almost more painful than all in your face anger. and and yeah, there was a lot of that, like just tension, and not really communicating much. But then I remember when Link, the morning after the waterfall scene, when he asks Josh or Cosmai to speak in his language, because it settles him. It was like that was their way of communicating, and sometimes it wasn't even with words. And so I just thought that was really powerful to hear Josh do that, and to watch it. And yeah, he's brilliant.
So this movie was, I want to say, was a long time coming. I mean, so Bretten Hannam writing and directing the movie. I know this was a long time coming for him. You all kind of came together in this project, I believe, like around 2019, and then are starting to shoot it through COVID and trying to get a movie made and released. So tell us just a little bit about just the logistics or the process of having all of this happen as you're trying to make, at some point, a very quiet, beautiful film with the world in complete chaos.
I've never heard it worded like that. I love it though, because it really was what it was. It's a long time coming. Even before that, this is over a decade in the works for Brett. I got on board in I think it was 2019, and we were supposed to shoot, I think, at the beginning of 2020, but then obviously things happened, and then it got pushed even further out. But we shot in beautiful Nova Scotia, and at the time it was the Atlantic bubble, right? So it was one of the most COVID safe places that you can shoot, apparently. I don't know. So anyway, that's why we were actually, I believe we were actually the first production to go up in Canada during that period of time where things were starting to get better again. And so it was really chaos all around us. We had this whole COVID safety team on set that was monitoring everything, and we were all in lockdown, in between shooting, and we had these different badges that we had to wear to go to certain sections of the set. And I've never been in a situation like that before, so it's very different, but somehow we made it work. And I think a big part of that was the fact that we were shooting outside. A lot of the scenes were shot outside in nature, and so it was a really good way of grounding ourselves amongst the chaos, like you said.
So, like, for you as an artist, you are telling this story of someone who is on a very personal journey of discovery. As an artist, kind of what's your journey through this with Link?
Well, I think that you really can't help yourself but be affected by every character and every story that you tell, because you're really truly living that out with them. And so again, it goes back to me just wanting to bring honor to this character, especially because it was so close to Brett's heart. And so I remember there was one of the last scenes we shot, which I think was cut out. There were so many scenes cut out of this movie. I think the first draft of the movie was like 3.5 hours long. And so there was a lot that we went through that didn't make the movie, but it was actually rewarding in and of itself. Like, for example, one of the last scenes we shot was actually on the beach, the closing scene with the dancing, but we also shot another section of that where we cover each other in mud head to toe, and then we fall back into the ocean. And And again, that was one of the last scenes we shot, and it was very healing because it felt like everything was being washed off of me. All of Link's, you know, whatever trauma and everything like that was being washed off. And so it was, yeah, like for Phillip, it was very healing. And then I gave Link back to Brett, and that was pretty much the end of it. But I'll never forget it. It was very, I enjoyed going on that journey with him.
So, as you said, this was, a deeply personal story for Brett. He, what becomes apparent, like for somebody like me who programs a lot of movies for a festival and watches a lot of stuff, you can really tell when a director, writer is taking such good care of everyone in this production, because there are such moments of vulnerability and intimacy, and not just physical intimacy, but just really raw emotional intimacy. Talk about how you are on a set like this and can get to those places and not have it just consume you.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was Brett is really every actor's dream director to work with. There's such a unique technique that I've never experienced before. And again, it's like how Brett writes, which is using very little dialogue. And Brett is like that in real life. Like Brett would come up to me with a note and given me that note without words. And I had never experienced that before. It would be like a look or a glance or just like an energy that I would feel, and I'd be like, okay. And then Brett would just walk away, saunter away, and I'd have a question, and Brett would go, "Oh, I don't really know." So it just allowed for this like freedom, just to trust that whatever was happening was meant to be happening. It took a lot of pressure off too, which was nice. And just again, such a safe space. All the crew felt it, all the cast felt it, and Brett really created that for everyone. So I'm just very grateful.
I wonder that's how you get to it. I will just start because I'm going to ask your favorite moment in the film, but I'm going to tell you mine first. There is a moment when you're sitting, having met Link meets his mother, and there's such that the most vulnerable point in the film when he says, "Do you want to be my mother?" Which I think everybody just wants to just pass out because it's such a beautiful moment. I mean, how do you two get to bring us that moment?
Well, that's interesting actually, because we had actually spoken before. Well, not me and Savannah, who plays Sarah. I had asked the production if they would be able to keep us separate until the first moment we see each other, and they actually said yes, which I'm surprised by. But they coordinated like our shuttles, our transportation to and from set. So when Savannah would be shooting something and I was shooting something on the same day, they would shuttle us out of the set so that we wouldn't have any contact with each other. And so we never spoke until the cameras were rolling. We didn't even rehearse or block together. We just went straight to camera and shot it. And we didn't even really talk in between the takes. And at the end of it, once we finished all of our work together, we finally spoke, and we just like hugged and cried in each other's arms, and it was really heartwarming. And then to this day, like we'd seen each other at a few festivals, and even after we wrapped together, we've never said goodbye, which is the weirdest thing. Like she'll either get pulled away or I'll get pulled away, but we never get to properly say goodbye to this day. So that's really weird, but also kind of cool, I guess.
So the movie is doing well. You were at TIFF. It's getting some really great recognition. So what was it like being at TIFF, showing this film and being there?
Um, Very nerve-wracking. My whole family was there. And that was my first time seeing it. We didn't actually have any private screenings for cast and crew. It was my first time seeing it, and I was with my whole family. And it was my first time actually at TIFF, like ever. And so that whole experience was overwhelming. And then to see the film for the first time was overwhelming, obviously. And yeah, that Q&A was pretty hard to get through. I was pretty choked up, but yeah. And then yeah, it's been amazing. Every showing gets different reactions from the crowd, and it's interesting to see how different countries or different cities react differently at different moments in the film. And it's interesting to watch. I find myself watching the audience more than the film.
Right.
Yeah, it's just human reactions. Yeah.
So and the reaction has been really positive to the film, and so I wanted to ask you. I mean, I think it's important. You know, we are a festival. You know, you're playing a lot of festivals, and it's independent film, and but you're telling a story of marginalized people in a marginalized community, and we don't always see this. You know, to tell the story of Indigenous people, um, of Two-Spirit people. What is it like for you to be able to be representative and tell the stories that we don't get to see a lot of?
Yeah, it was again, like, these kind of stories don't come around often, and so I wanted to make sure that, and we had this John Sillyboy who was our Two-Spirit advisor, and uh, he was just an absolute, just this, like, I don't know, his vessel of wisdom or something. Seemed to know everything about everything, and so that was a huge help just to get both me and Josh into the Two-Spirit community, and just making sure that we were telling the story how it needed to be told. And then obviously a lot of the cast are Indigenous and Indigenous creators, and so it was just we were kind of all on the same page, and we all had this common goal, and it was a very powerful situation.
When there's, you know, I'm often curious for people when there is a beauty in being able to participate in representing a community. Um, there's also a pressure to do it because we don't see it, and so you know there is that pressure to include everything and to get everything right. I mean, how do you navigate through that when you're trying just to tell a story that can touch so many different people?
Talk to the communities. Elder Becky, who plays Elspeth on the film, I spoke with her, and just again, just this, so much wisdom, and like every conversation was just so powerful, and just ask the questions, and between Elder Becky and John Sillyboy, it was just, I felt very backed and informed on exactly what I should do. And I think it's just have those open conversations. Yeah, I had an amazing team behind us and this project. So I think I was a little nervous when on the release to see what kind of messages I might get, but for the most part, it's been very, very positive, and
Good.
just some amazing, uh, encounters with people.
When you, I think, you know, one of the things that I think is always kind of comes through in such in authentic performances, particularly like with you and Josh, is that kind of reverence that I think you were just talking about for the culture, for the people, for the story. I mean, as it's young artists or artists, you know, who will be watching this or watching the film, kind of what do you say to them to kind of really the importance of that reverence for who you are entrusted to tell the story? What advice do you give them?
Self-love. It's really, it's simple, and so many people, including myself, overcomplicate it in moments of craziness. And at the end of the day, just love yourself and who and what you are, and trust that that's enough.
So I think that anytime you embark on a project like this, you know, you spend so much time in this, a part of it always stays with you. So what part of Link is always going to stay with you?
I guess his bravery, and really standing for what he believes in, and fighting to the end. Without a car, without food, without money, he fought right to the end. And that's something to look up to, I guess.
Excellent. So
But
what
it's gone. I gave Link back to Brett.
And so what is next for you? As I know that Wildhood is the film is playing. It's going to be, I believe it's going to be released. And so is that's going on? What is next for you?
So watch Wildhood on Hulu June 24th, I believe. Crave in Canada. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about
Okay.
the next thing, but look out for it.
Okay, but there is a next thing. So. Excellent. So Philip, I really do appreciate you being able to take the time to talk about the film. I do, you know, on behalf of all of us here at Out on Film, we appreciate the film. It is Wildhood is an absolutely stunning and beautiful film. You all give some really, I have to say, some really terrific performances. So I want to acknowledge everyone involved in telling a story that we don't always get to see, but that always, as with most of our stories, there's a part of this in all of us. And so we appreciate you being able to take the time, and thank you for telling this story for all of us. So I appreciate, thank you for being here at Out on Film. Thank all of you for joining us in this conversation with Philip. If you like this conversation and want to see others and more, talking to artists about independent film and queer film, please subscribe to our channel and check out on Film on YouTube. Thank you very much.
Thank you.